Every single week, I get the same questions from people moving to Houston and Fort Bend County. Some are about the home prices, some are about the neighborhoods, and others are about things people have heard online that simply are not true. So today, I'm answering the 10 questions I hear the most and giving you honest answers I'd give my own clients. What's going on, everybody? I'm Ashton St, your Greater Houston Realtor, but most people just call me the mayor of Fort Bend County because when you think Fort Bend, you should think Mayor Ashton. Welcome back to day 7 of my mission to explore everything Fort Bend County and Greater Houston have to offer. Whether you're thinking about moving here, investing here, or you've lived here your whole life, this channel is your go-to guide. Let's jump into today's video. Question 1. Is Houston really affordable? Well, compared to many other major metro areas, Houston has historically offered more home for your money, more bang for your buck. Houston's housing market doesn't typically follow the national housing market because for some reason, Houston always has people moving here and always has people moving around the city. Property taxes and insurance are important parts, though, to remember of your total monthly costs in your mortgage. Buyers should look at the full picture, not just the purchase price. In different parts of Fort Bend County, specifically, they offer quite different price points. Fort Bend County has a bit of everything. You have luxury and you have your first-time home buyers, so you want to definitely take a look in each different pocket. Houston's an anomaly. Okay, whatever the national media is telling you, do not follow. You want to get a local expert that really knows what Houston real estate is doing. One of the biggest surprises for people relocating is how much variety there is here. You can find established neighborhoods, luxury communities, and new construction all within the same county or even the same city, but specifically Fort Bend County. Question number 2. Which city or suburb should I live in? Well, as the mayor of Fort Bend, I'm going to focal this more to Fort Bend County. And you have Sugar Land, you have Richmond, you have Fulshear, you have Rosenberg, you have Missouri City, and then now with all the growth, you're seeing more growth out in Needville and Beasley. So, we can watch my previous videos and I go into depth about which of the cities. Sugar Land, you're going to be the most established. It's the crown jewel of Fort Bend County. It's your biggest suburb. It's got a lot of different opportunities out here and a lot of different mix of architecture and different homes. Richmond, it's going to be your oldest city, but really the growth has been in the last 5 to 10 years, and it's really growing right now as well. And that's going to be your county seat. You're going to have a lot of historic homes. You're going to have a lot of new growth out here, a lot of new construction. Fulshear, that's going to be mainly all new construction. It's an old ranching town, and it's hard to see many of the old remnants of the town, but it's a lot of new construction, but it's a slower pace. You know your neighbors, and it's a cool little feel out there. Rosenberg, it's really taking off right now. Rosenberg's been around for a long time as well. Richmond, Rosenberg have tons and tons of history. They intertwine like two cities. Most people just call it Rose Rich because they intertwine, and half the time you'll be driving on a road and you'll go from Richmond to Rosenberg, Richmond, Rosenberg, all on the same road because the county line, the city line just runs like a zigzag. You got lots of new construction out there and lots of different opportunities. Then you have Missouri City. It's older. The crown jewel of Missouri City is going to be Sienna. You have some other neighborhoods, older, and it kind of intertwines with more of your outskirts of Houston. Especially in old Missouri City, you feel like you're right in Houston. There's some different areas I would definitely stay away from. And then now Needville and Beasley, you're either getting ranch or you're getting new construction out there. That's how it is right now. They're in the middle of building these neighborhoods, but you still have tons of the old farms, and hopefully some of those can hang on. As someone that's in real estate, I get excited with new developments, but as someone that loves Texas and loves this area, it's still sad to see all these farms and ranches disappearing to the development, but that's just the way growth goes. Question number 3. Should I buy new construction or resale? Well, there's pros and cons to both. I myself like to sell more new construction. It's easier, it's cleaner. Builder incentives are great. You can get people into home ownership that doesn't even know they could because of some of these builder incentives. And the builders like to use their own lender, and so you can get rates well below the national average. So right now the national average is 6.5, and my last customer, I got him in for under 4 at like a 3.9. which is great. That's COVID price. That's what made the housing market explode when they were that low. And their first year, I got them on a 2-to-1 buy down. So they were paying a $299 their second year and a $199 their first year. So it's really, really hard to beat that. But the problem with the new construction is you just don't have the established neighborhoods with the established schools and the established infrastructure. And my personal favorite with these established neighborhoods is I love big trees. I love trees covering the road, which you get a lot in Sugar Land and some in Richmond, which you do in Richmond too, but you don't with all this new growth you're getting out here. There's pros and cons. And the customization, though, you get a little bit more with new construction. You can get more of what you're wanting, more bang for your buck. It just all depends on what you're really looking for. And I'd love to dig in deeper and have a conversation if you were to come holler at me and we have a buyer consultation and really find out what you want. Because you may think you want something until we get down to the good questions and to find out what realistically looks like where you're going. And you may be totally something different than what you're expecting. Question number 4, how much money do I need? Well, down payment options are gonna vary. If you get an FHA loan, which is typically your first time home buyer loan, you're only putting down 3.5%. That could be under $10,000. You know, the stipulation is you gotta have $20,000 or 20%. You don't. There's so many different options. If we get you a USDA loan, lots of Fort Bend County are still eligible for a USDA loan. That's a 0 down payment. You want to new construction, they typically cover all your closing costs. Closing costs is a number that you need to make sure that you have in mind because that's more cash that you need to bring to your closing. That will include your down payment. That will include a bunch of different items. In a later video, we will break down exactly what all closing costs are and what typically people need to bring. I would talk with the lender right when you start your home search. In fact, before you're looking at homes, I like to bring my customers to my go-to lender and get them pre-approved so we can really find out what they're looking for. Just because you're pre-approved for a whole amount doesn't mean that you want to go all the way up to that because you're going to have to bring more to closing. So it's really just a discussion that we need to sit down with my go-to lender partner, and we'll sit down, the three of us, and they can sit down with you, and we can really run the numbers and really find out what makes sense to you. I'm not just here to get you in a home and take my commission check and call it a day. No, I want you to be comfortable. I want us to be business partners for the rest of our lives and really find you your forever home, find you a place you can grow your family, and all these different ways of life that you want to be in home ownership for all those stages of life. And I would recommend right there is you want to get with your lender early. That's the only answer to how much money do you need because everybody differs and every home differs. Question 5, how long does the buying process take? Well, you got your walkthrough, you have your pre-approval, then we're shopping for homes, then we're putting in the offer, and if that offer gets accepted, then we're doing an inspection, then we're doing our closing. So say we go new construction, that's typically your easiest way and smoothest option. So you're gonna walk through, you'll find the home, you'll get pre-approved with their lender, and there's no offers, no negotiations. We'll do an inspection. That's typically about, I want to say roughly 30 days. Now with some of these others, it could take a whole lot longer than 30 days. I mean, wonder if you put an offer and there's multiple offers and yours gets denied. Wonder if you don't like what happens in the inspection or in the option period, you just decide to back out because it's just not really what you were wanting. And there's just lots of different ways. You know, my average, I would say, is 30 days. That's once we find the home, you have 30 days. So it really just depends how many win. But the thing I love about buyer consultations with me is we're gonna find 4 or 5 homes. You know, at most we're gonna go up to 10. If we're going to see more than 10, then we didn't do a good enough job in a buyer consultation appointment because that's where we find out what you want. We can do a search online together with my resources where we can find exactly your home. So nobody's wasting their time. Everybody's got a full day. Everybody's got families, and we're not wasting your time, and we're really getting down to the meat and potatoes. You know, we're going to find out what you want and what you need so we can make this a smooth process for you because nobody wants to look at 50 homes and take forever and get your hopes up and then not work. And I like to do it all in one with the lender and really knock it all out the park. Question 6, should I wait for interest rates? My biggest thing is no. Nobody can consistently predict interest rates perfectly. The better question is whether you're financially ready and whether the home fits your long-term plans. Everybody thinks the interest rates right now are high. Well, guess what? They're actually lower than the historical average. The weird thing is, most buyers think it's a worse time to buy right now than when the interest rates were 18% back in the 80s and people still thought it was a better time to buy. It's a fascinating aspect, and it really just comes down to education. And that's partly why I do this channel and make content, because I want to educate you to make a smart decision on what it means. Because I don't want you paying someone else's mortgage when you're renting. I want you paying your own mortgage, and I want you doing home ownership. The American dream is home ownership. I love people getting home ownership. No other country lets you get your own slice of earth like America does. So if the interest rates right now, it matters. They always say, date the rate, marry the home. Well, in some points that does make sense, because we can get you in at a higher rate. If you can afford it now, the second the rates drop, you can refinance. Home prices aren't going down. They're going to continue to go up. So would you rather get in at a better price with this interest rate? And then if the rates drop again, you can refinance. Well, if you waited, you have more competition, more buyers going in. Prices actually go a lot higher. Then you're competing with multiple offers. It actually just makes sense to get in now. And right now we're in a crazy buyer's market, and it is so many opportunities, so many rate buy downs, so many negotiations, things that can really make it worth your while. And if you're just sitting on the bench because of interest rates, then you're really missing out on what could be the perfect home for you. Question 7. What's the best master plan community? Even myself, I struggle to answer this, because I find one, I'm like, oh, that's my favorite. Then I find another one and I go, oh, that's my favorite. I love a good master plan community. I love to see a good developer really envision what the way of life for these residents living in their neighborhoods. Now, yesterday's video, I mentioned my 7 favorite master plan communities in the Fort Bend area. And even then, I think I could have done my list up to 10 to 15, because there's so many. And it really depends what you're looking for, what your day-to-day looks like, and what you want your life to be like, and how you want to spend your weekends. It really depends on the lifestyle you want. Fort Bend County has a great lifestyle, but each little pocket of Fort Bend County has their own lifestyle. There really isn't one best. There's so many options in Sugar Land and Rosenberg and Richmond and Fulshire. They really do it right. It's like no other place in the country. I've been all over the country. I've road tripped to the country. You really don't see the thought and meticulation of these developments like you do in the outskirts of Houston, and specifically Fort Bend County. And it's why it's one of the fastest growing counties in the United States, because it is so sought after and it's so meticulous on what your lifestyle is going to be like. What's your favorite restaurant? I'm a foodie. I love to go to new places around here. And I love Fort Bend County. It's the most diverse county in the United States for a reason. You can eat any different type of cuisine, anything you want, 7 days a week, typically 24 hours a day. There's quite a few different favorites, and I want to break that down on its own specific video and tell you some of my good time favorites. I love a good Mexican food. That's what I like to get the most. I like to go to Gringo's Mexican. It's Tex-Mex. That's what my thing is. And I really like that. But there's so many others I can't even think right here on the top of my head for this video, which is why I love to break it all down and give you the best go-to spots in another separate video. As a former restaurateur myself, I've been a general manager of multiple restaurants and bars. And so I have a harder time looking at it, but I pride myself on how things are ran. And so when I find a place that I really don't have anything bad to say about, I want to recommend it. I'd love to break it down better. Question 9. What's one thing nobody tells buyers? Well, there's going to be some issues. The distance could be an issue. If you're going to work inside of Houston and Fort Bend County, like thousands of people do every single day, you're going to have to understand that it's going to be at least 25 to 30 minutes with no traffic. And when you're going into rush hour, you're going to have to know that you have to be on the road before 8 o'clock. You're going to have to be on the road when coming home before 4, or stay even later, because that's just the way it works. Because you'll get, if you don't want to get stuck in crazy 610 traffic, crazy 59 traffic, as you get closer into Houston, 59 smooth sailing all around here. You start getting closer to Houston, it gets congested. And so the distance and the traffic can really be some turnoffs, but thousands of people do it every day. I drive into Houston all the time, and I don't have an issue with it. Houston is huge. There's a joke around Houstonians that Houston is an hour away from Houston. Houston is so sprawled out. We have so many different freeways that you can get on. And it's just one thing you need to take in consideration about Houston is you're going to be in your car a lot. Now, the lifestyle is great once you're not in the car, but you got to make sacrifices to get the benefits. So we don't judge a commute by the miles here. We judge it by the time. And that's why everything I've told you, I always tell you the time. It's 25 to 30 minutes to get into Houston with no traffic. It's just one thing you want to take into account. Question number 10, why Fort Bend? I love Fort Bend for its history, its diversity, its amazing schools, its phenomenal lifestyle, its great community, and the growth. As a local realtor, of course, I love the growth. And there's times it's sad to see this not the same Fort Bend anymore. But as all the changes, you have to find the good in for it. There's a reason everybody is moving here right now. I'm not the only one that sees it. I want you to come out here and take a look, and I'll give you a personal tour, show you all my favorite spots, show you all my favorite master plan communities, and find your forever home. Because when people move to Fort Bend, they don't leave Fort Bend. They stay in Fort Bend. It is one of those places that nobody leaves. Everybody loves it, and it's just a great environment and a great lifestyle. At the end of the day, buying a home isn't just about square footage or granite countertops. It's about finding a community that fits your life. Fort Bend County is unique because you have every different type of community and every diversity here. So it's super easy to find where you fit in. That's why I spend so much time helping people understand not just the homes. I want them to understand the neighborhoods, the history, and the lifestyle that comes with them. If today's video answered one of your questions, hit that like button. It helps more people find these videos. I want to help as many people as possible. If you have questions I didn't answer, drop it in the comments. I may feature it in a new future Q&A. I'd love to. Let me dig in deeper to help you, whatever helps you. If you're buying, selling, or relocating anywhere in the Greater Houston area, I'd love to help. I may be the mayor of Fort Bend, but I know all of Houston, and I could find you your home. Make sure you subscribe, because tomorrow we're kicking off History Week, starting with the story of Richmond, Texas, one of the oldest cities in the state, going back to when Texas was its own country. I'm Ashton St, your Greater Houston Realtor, but I am the mayor of Fort Bend County. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.